Have you ever wondered what set apart the northern and southern colonies in America? This is a question that has intrigued historians and casual observers alike for centuries. It's not just about geography, it's about distinct societies, cultures, economies, and ideologies that took root in these regions during the colonial era. The story begins in the early 17th century. England, seeking to expand its influence and wealth, established the northern and southern colonies in the New World. The northern colonies, also known as New England colonies, included Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. On the other hand, the southern colonies encompassed Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. These colonies, although founded by the same country, developed unique characteristics influenced by their environment, the settlers' background, and the purpose of their formation. The differences between the two colonies would become more pronounced as they evolved, leading to significant consequences for the future of America. Now, let's delve into the top 10 differences, starting with the 10th major difference. At number 10, we have the economy. Now, when we delve into the economy of the northern and southern colonies, we find two distinctly different systems. The north, with its cooler climate and rocky soil, wasn't as conducive to farming as the south. So the north developed an economy primarily based on industry and commerce. Think shipbuilding, fishing, and later, manufacturing. On the other hand, the southern colonies, blessed with fertile lands and a warm climate, were perfectly suited for agriculture. Enormous plantations sprouted across the region, growing cash crops like tobacco, rice, and indigo. This agricultural economy created a wealth of land-owning aristocrats, setting the stage for a society deeply rooted in farming. These contrasting economies weren't just a matter of geography, they influenced everything from social structure to politics, shaping the unique identities of the North and South. So, the economic base set a different course for the North and South. Coming in at number 9 is religion. A significant divide between the northern and southern colonies was their religious practices. The northern colonies, especially those in New England, were largely made up of Puritans. These devout colonists sought to purify the Church of England and create a society based on their own strict interpretation of the Bible. Their communities were closely knit and highly regulated, with religion permeating every aspect of daily life. Meanwhile, in the southern colonies, the predominant faith was Anglicanism. The Anglican Church, also known as the Church of England, was the officially established church in these colonies. The faith was less strict compared to the puritanical beliefs in the north, and religion was generally less central to the community life. These divergent religious beliefs not only shaped the cultural fabric of the colonies but also influenced their socio-political structures. Religion indeed played a significant role in shaping these colonies. Sitting at number 8 is geography. The geography of the northern and southern colonies greatly influenced their economy and lifestyle. The northern colonies, with their rocky soil and cooler climate, were less suited for large-scale farming. Instead, they focused on fishing, shipbuilding, and trading. This led to the development of bustling port cities and a focus on commerce and industry. On the other hand, the southern colonies, with their fertile soil and warm climate, were ideal for agriculture. Large plantations grew cash crops like tobacco and rice, which were labor-intensive and required a large workforce. This agricultural focus led to a more rural lifestyle and the establishment of an economy heavily reliant on enslaved labor. The geographical differences between the North and South didn't just influence their economies and lifestyles. They also played a significant role in shaping their societal structures, religious practices, and political systems. Geography, thus, was a key factor that differentiated the two. Number 7 on our list is labor. Now let's delve into the stark contrasts in labor practices between the northern and southern colonies. Up in the north, the labor force was primarily made up of free individuals. These were artisans, farmers, and traders who worked their own lands or offered their services for a fee. On the other hand, the South had a different approach. They relied heavily on enslaved people brought from Africa. The vast plantations of tobacco, rice, and indigo required a large workforce, and tragically, this was often met through the brutal system of chattel slavery. This divergence in labor practices was not merely a matter of economic difference. It was also a profound social and moral divide that would come to shape the histories of these regions in profound ways. Labor practices indeed brought about a stark contrast. Coming in at number 6 is education. This aspect of colonial life was a significant point of departure between the North and the South. Northern colonies, with their Puritan influence, placed a high value on literacy. The Massachusetts Bay Colony, for example, established the first public school in America, the Boston Latin School, in 1635. This was followed by the founding of Harvard College, the nation's first higher education institution, a year later. On the flip side, education in the southern colonies was not a community affair, but a private one, largely reserved for the wealthy. With a focus on agriculture and labor-intensive industries, formal education was often sidelined. Schools were few, and many children received basic education at home or from private tutors. These divergent educational practices laid the groundwork for distinct societal structures and values that would continue to shape the regions for centuries. Education undeniably was another major divergence. Number 5 on our countdown is social structure. The northern and southern colonies, both integral parts of the early American narrative, were marked by distinct social structures. The North, for instance, was more egalitarian. They valued community and cooperation with a focus on the common good. This led to a more balanced distribution of wealth and a society where individuals of all classes could interact freely. On the other hand, the southern colonies had a rigid class structure. The elite plantation owners sat at the top, followed by the yeoman farmers, indentured servants, and slaves at the bottom. This hierarchy was deeply ingrained, creating a society where social mobility was limited and power was concentrated among the upper classes. These social structures weren't just incidental. They shaped the colony's economies, politics, and cultures, influencing the paths they took towards development. Social structure thus played a key role in their development. At number 4, we have government. Now let's delve into the divergent governmental systems of the northern and southern colonies. The North, with its democratic ideals, leaned towards self-rule and town meetings. These meetings were a space for every man to voice his opinion, fostering a sense of community and direct involvement in the decision-making process. On the flip side, the South adopted an aristocratic system, where power was concentrated in the hands of a few wealthy plantation owners. The elite ruled, and the common people had little say in governance. This was a stark departure from the inclusive democratic approach of the North. These unique governmental systems, shaped by the different economic and social structures of the colonies, played a significant role in their development. The democratic North and the aristocratic South, two systems as different as night and day, laid the groundwork for the diverse political landscape that would become the United States. Government systems indeed were a stark contrast. Number 3 on our countdown takes us to the Salem witch trials. This event, which unfolded in the late 17th century, was a poignant illustration of the influence of religion in the northern colonies. A small town in Massachusetts, Salem found itself in the throes of mass hysteria as accusations of witchcraft swept through the community like wildfire. In a span of just over a year, more than 200 people were accused, with 19 found guilty and hanged, and 1 pressed to death under stones. These trials highlighted the intense religious fervor of the time, and the extreme measures that society was willing to take to uphold religious orthodoxy. The fear of the unknown, the supernatural, and deviation from the norm was so great, it led to one of the most notorious cases of mass hysteria in history. The Salem witch trials, a distinct historical event, highlighted the religious fervor in the North. Coming in at number 2 is slavery. The contentious issue of slavery was a stark difference between the North and South, creating deep-seated divisions that would eventually lead to the American Civil War. In the northern colonies, where the economy was more industrialized, there was a growing opposition to slavery. Many felt it was not only morally wrong, but also unnecessary for their economic growth. On the other hand, the southern colonies, with their agrarian economies heavily dependent on labor-intensive crops like tobacco and cotton, saw slavery as essential. To them, it was an economic necessity, a way of life that they were willing to fight to preserve. This fundamental disagreement over slavery was not merely an economic or moral divergence, but a societal one, creating a chasm that would take a civil war and a long, arduous journey towards civil rights to begin to bridge. Slavery indeed was a significant divergence. And finally, the most significant difference at number 1, the impact on the American Revolution. The disparities between the northern and southern colonies were not just superficial, they were deeply ingrained in the colonies' economies, social structures, and ideologies. These differences in turn played a pivotal role in the American Revolution. The North, with its focus on commerce and industry, became the driving force in the fight for independence, supporting the war with financial resources and manpower. The South, with its agrarian economy and reliance on slavery, had a more complex relationship with the Revolution. While many Southerners fought for independence, the region's economic structure meant it had much to lose if the British won. The Revolution was a struggle not just against British rule, but also a struggle between two contrasting ways of life. The differences between the northern and southern colonies indeed played a crucial role in the birth of the United States.